Welcome back to Deep Tissue Talks. So today we're going to talk about neck and shoulder pain. If you watched the first episode with Aliya Janell, you will see that that's what she is complaining about. And in this episode, I want to explain to you why we can have those type of pain and what you could do about it. If you're a healer, please leave a comment. Let people know what is your specialty and where you are. I wish I could clone myself and get a treatment, but I can't. And so it's very difficult sometimes to find the right people for you and to know where they are and what they do. Now, I'm going to share with you why we have pain, especially through the system of fascia. And I'm going to explain to you what you could do about it. And I'm going to show you the exercise that I gave Aliya Janell. I think it's important for you to understand that everybody is different, that pain comes from different areas, from different stressors, from different posture and emotions. And the exercise that I gave Aliya are the one that I made for her. I invite you to check in with your healthcare provider, with your PT, with your chiro, with your osteopath, and make sure that those are the right exercise for you before you try them. There is a lot of people that come to get treatment with you and they wonder why, when they tell me about a specific pain, why I don't start right away by treating that exact spot that gives them pain or discomfort. But when you understand that everything is connected, it's going to start making more sense. In the season 1, episode 1 with Aliya Janell, you can see that she has neck and shoulder pain, but I don't necessarily start by treating her neck. I am looking at her arms and her hands, her deltoid. And that's because of the analysis that I did before she even got into the table when we talk about what she does, how she lives her life, and how she feels and who she is. Everything is connected, from your muscles, your emotion, your trauma, your pain, your posture, your work. Everything has an ability to put you out of balance and give you a discomfort of pain. Fascia is, to me, what makes the most sense in terms of how I understand our body and its way of dealing with tension and pressure and trauma and how it starts developing pain. So I want to introduce you to the world of fascia. And so for that, I'm going to need a little bit of help. Actually, I'm going to take my glasses off. I think I see better without them. So in my practice, I treat the body, the mind, and the spirit. Researchers, they define fascia as a web, like a spider web. It wraps around your muscles, your bone, your organ. It even goes through it. Now that you know that, imagine your body like a continuous piece of fabric. If you tug one end of your fabric, like if I tug my fabric, it could kind of like force me into a position and a posture. And that on its own can create tension and pain and compensation. In the episode with Aliya, I treat her hands, her arm, her deltoid right here. And that's because I think that everything is connected. She works a lot with her hands. She dances. She uses movement. She is also a leader. And so when you're a leader and you have strong opinions and you have to think all the time, you can have pain that gets stuck in your shoulders. So the next time that you think about your pain, start wondering, what am I doing over and over that could cause that pain? Am I sleeping properly? Because if you sleep 8 hours in a position that's not good for you, then your body is going to be forced to fight against it and so create compensation and pain. For Aliya, her pain was coming from further down. But for you, maybe it's your pecs or the front of your neck or even the bottom of your feet. Because remember, everything is connected. That's the mechanical part that I talk about, trying to understand the body and understand mechanically what is pulling your body. out of balance. So let's dig deeper about this concept of fascia and that everything is connected. The fascia has many purposes and many functions. There is growing research now that support a correlation between fascia and somatic pain, or also psychological pain, pain that is coming from an emotion, a trauma. And that correlation between fascia and emotion and fascia and trauma is something that has been really, really effective in my practice. In addition to that, fascia also play a role in proprioception. So what's proprioception? It's our body ability to sense where we are in space. Stress and negative emotion can overstimulate and activate the nerves in the fascia. And that overstimulation of those nerves can create tension in the fascia. And that tension can impact our proprioception. That can lead to movement compensation, to pain, and even the twisties that Simone Biles described. That's the somatic part that I'm talking about. Another key to try to get rid of your pain. Another important component that I work with my clients when they are open to it is the spiritual part of the pain. Fascia can be a bridge between your heart and your brain. It allows electrical and biomechanical signal to travel between the two organs. This is what Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dr. Cretior, who is the director of research at the Heart Math Institute, or Dr. Gilbert from the Vesica Institute talk about. And they refer to it as the heart-brain coherence. This is where fascia acts like an information highway. Some say that fascia is the envelope that consciousness arrives in. And that's the spiritual part that I'm talking about. We can talk about that in another episode too. That's a big subject. As you can see, fascia has a lot of function when it comes to pain. But at my level, I only treat the mechanical part, the somatic part, and the spiritual part if you're open to it. When I was working with Aliya, I could feel the tension in her body. A healthy tissue is supposed to feel like a wet sponge. If you have kids or a baby, touch their thigh, touch their arm. It's so squishy, it's so spongy. That's the quality that I'm looking for when I'm working with somebody. But as we grow and as we live life, that quality of tissue changes to adapt itself to the experience of life. When I was working with Aliya, I could feel like sometime in some areas of her body, her muscles were stuck to each other. They were not gliding. They were kind of like one block. And so when I worked with her in that episode, my goal was to restore the gliding, was to restore the density of her tissue, to get it closer to this spongy feel that I'm looking for, to rehydrate it. I'm going to take my book back for this one. Let's talk about the concept of tensegrity. Tensegrity is short for tensional integrity. It's a model that explains how structures, and including our body, can maintain stability and balance through a system of tension and compression. To understand better this concept, try to imagine your body as if it was a tent. And because we're talking about shoulder pain, imagine your arms and your hands, your arm acting like the pole of the tent, giving it its structure and support, while the hands, they're going to serve more as the stakes. They're going to anchor your body to the ground. If one of those stakes is too tight or too loose, if one of those poles slightly shifts, the entire tent can't lose its shape. And that's going to cause instability. The body and the brain is made to try to deal with those instability. And to do so, it's going to adapt to it. It's going to put your body in a position that is going to allow your body to continue to move and to continue to experience. But with that transformation, with that adaptation, because it's not normal, you might going to develop pain over time. To continue in the subject of neck and shoulder pain, if there is a tension or an imbalance in your hands or in your arms, it can pull the fascia and the muscles that are inside of it and affect the position and stability of your neck or your shoulders, just like when a tense support system is off balance. If you can address those areas, you're going to restore integrity to the whole system so that the pain or the tension in the neck and shoulders can be relieved. I hope that you understand better how an imbalance can ripple through your entire body. Even though you might have neck pain or shoulder pain, the real problem, the real area that you may have to look at could be your hands, because you're using your hands too much, because you are typing on a computer for way too long and your hands get really tight. It has happened to me that I had a mosquito bite right here on my hand. I'm allergic to mosquito bites. And so it didn't heal right. I was itching it. I could see the scar tissue around this mosquito bite. And I could feel that it was getting really hard. What the scar tissue does, it's that it's going to reach out around and out of where it is. And by doing so, it's going to pull the rest of my tissue with it. And I started to have pain in my hands when I was moving it. And I also started to have more pain on the side of my neck. And I just couldn't understand why until I started to realize that that little mosquito bite, unless it was going to properly heal and unless I was going to break the scar tissue around it, is going to continue to evolve and create more tension in my body. So I worked with it just with my fingers once it was healed to break the scar tissue and to make sure that everything was gliding better on top of each other and around it. And so my pain gradually disappeared. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some of the exercise that I gave Aliya to do for her specific pain and for what she's dealing with. That might not be what you need, but if you think that it's right for you, maybe you could try and let me know if that works for you. Something that I also use when I work with my athletes or my clients is a mantra. A mantra is a really powerful tool when you work on the somatic part of your pain. Why is that? It's because if you're really able to find the mantra that works for you, it can talk to the part of your body that is holding the pain and the emotion. And by working and self-massaging those pain, repeating your mantra, you're going to help the body heal from what probably caused that pain in the first place. So if you don't know how to create your mantra, I have a whole team that is now dedicated to it. So you can order your personalized mantra. It will come in about 2 to 5 days, and it's going to be completely adapted to your zodiac sign, your story, your experience in life, your goals, your hope, your fear, and your stressors. And if you can use this mantra while you're working on yourself, while you're working on the mechanical part of your pain, watch the magic happen. So if you're listening to the podcast, I'm going to describe those exercises, describe what tool I'm using and how to use it. But if you need visual, just check the Deep Tissue Talk YouTube channel, Season 1, Episode 2, and I will show the exercise that you can follow along. My goal is to inspire you to find answers and to take better care of yourself. I want to empower you to use the tools that you have to live a pain-free life. In the meantime, don't forget to breathe. Try to ground yourself. Take a moment to thank your body, to be this incredible vehicle that it is to help you experience life, care for it, feed it. I promise it will give back. You are in it together. You don't need a lot of tools. Start with a tennis ball. Try to find a long sock. So what I do is I'm putting the tennis ball inside the sock. And the reason I do that is because it allows me to have better control of the ball if I'm trying to treat my back, for example, or spots on my back. If I'm placing the ball in the sock behind my back, it's going to be easier for me to adjust where the ball goes instead of trying to twist myself everywhere. Other tool that I use a lot is a foam roller. I recommend you to start with a foam roller that's not too dense, because the denser, the harder the pressure is going to feel. To work on my neck, and especially in the back of my neck, I like those type of foam roller with the spikes, because if I find a trigger point, I can just lay down on it, stop moving, and allow those spikes to melt inside my body. It will reproduce what I do in my hands on someone, where if I find a spot that is resisting me, I'm just going to stay there and wait until that spot melts and wait until that spot lets me get in. Right here, I'm going to apply a little bit of pressure. So I'm keeping my arm straight on the ball, and I'm going to do some circles. You decide the pressure that you want on the ball. Then you might gonna find some tighter spot, especially on this muscle called abductor pollicis. This is a muscle that is responsible for abduction of the thumb. Therefore, we use it a lot when we grip on things. So here, I'm gonna put the ball on that muscle, and I'm gonna roll it up and down, side to side. I'm kind of like doing a cross. And then you can add some circles to it. If you feel a tight spot, all you can do is just keep the pressure on it. Relax your finger, then extend them. Relax the fingers, then extend them. What it does is it stretches the muscles underneath the pressure. You can work on the side of your hand as well. You're gonna have to find the areas of tension. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to work on the first dorsal interosseous. I'm going to open my hand as big as I can, and I'm gonna place the ball on the triangle that contains the muscles. And I'm just gonna apply a little bit of pressure. If you feel like it, and if you can handle it, because sometimes you'd be surprised how tight this area can be. You can also work on the top of your hand. There is muscle there too. It feels and looks very bony, but if you extend your fingers, you'll see those muscles working hard. And so that's what I do on placing the ball and rolling the extensors of my hand. I roll on it, I go side to side, and what I do to work on its length is I'm gonna apply a little bit of pressure and then close my hand. Extend, apply a little bit of pressure, and close your hand. Now I'm gonna work on the muscle of my forearm. So I'm gonna work first on my flexors, then I'm gonna work on my extensors. So I'm gonna start at my wrist, and I'm going to roll the ball. If you find a tight spot, stay on it. Apply pressure. Do some little circles. I'm finding a tight spot right here, which is closer to my elbow. I'm going to stay on it, apply a little bit of pressure, and do some really small little circle. And then keep on rolling. If you find a tight spot, stay on it, roll it, then extend your fingers up. Roll, apply a little bit of pressure, extend your fingers. Now I'm going to do the same for my extensors. I'm going to roll, apply pressure, and flex this time. You can do the same with a foam roller. Let me show you. Sometimes I feel like I need a little bit more pressure, so I'm going to apply a little bit more pressure by pressing on it. Now let me show you how I would work on my deltoid and the rest of my upper arm. I simply just lay on it and kind of like play with the angle a little bit more posterior, which is back towards your back, a little bit more posterior, that is towards your back, and a little bit more anterior towards the front. And that's interesting because you're going to feel all of the places where you're holding tension. If you are courageous and if you feel like you need it, you can roll. And that can be really painful. You can roll your triceps. That's not an exercise that I give Aliya, but if that is an area of concern, you can surely do it. And add flexion extension. Another exercise that I gave her is to work on her lat dorsi and her rotator cuff. I asked her to place the foam roller under her arm, but not inside of her armpit, right on the side. Keep the pressure. If you feel like it, support your head with your hand. Stay on it, and then start working with the angle a little bit. If you're ready for it, start rolling a little bit on your side. I said last, but I lied. We're gonna do one more exercise. This one I didn't give it to her, but probably I should have. So Aliya, if you're watching this, add this to your homework. I'm gonna use my spiky foam roller, but you can use any regular foam roller. I'm gonna use my spiky one because if I feel a tight spot on my back and my shoulder, I'm just gonna stay on it, and I feel like I can really feel it going inside my muscles because I have like really tight and strong erectors, back muscles. I'm going to place my hands either on my belly, or I'm just going to place them behind my head for support. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift my butt and roll. Thank you so much for tuning in. I look forward to share more with you. I send you love. Thank you so much.